Does this video shock you? Does it make you question your freedom? Alicia Kitts, a woman from Ohio, was tased and arrested for refusing to wear a mask while at her kid's middle school football game. As she sat with her family, safely socially distanced from the other people, Alicia Kitts was told to wear a mask or leave the premises. When the young mother refused to comply, citing her asthma condition, she was tased, handcuffed, and charged with criminal trespassing. You might be thinking, she should have just worn the mask, or she should have left. She refused to comply, so she brought it on herself. But stop just for a moment and think about it. What if it was you? What if you, a tax-paying American citizen, were tased and arrested and criminally charged for refusing to obey a rule that you felt compromised you in some way? What if you were tased and handcuffed in front of your own children by the government that you employ as a tax-paying citizen for violating a rule that you never agreed with? This video of Alicia Kitts being tased and arrested should concern you, because it's an example of how liberties in many states in this country are slowly being eroded by the government that we employ, while we, the people, just allow it. We allow it because we are told we will be safer if we do. And as we go along to get along, more and more rules are added, and the state grows more powerful as you, the individual, becomes more powerless. Have you ever thought about the symbolism of a mask? A mask is used to conceal, to hide, to cover. A mask conceals your identity, your personhood. It hides your expression. It covers your mouth. It's like a muzzle that we voluntarily put on, silencing your voice, demonstrating uniformity of thought and compliance to the rules. Alicia Kitts was an asthmatic woman who was tased and arrested for refusing to wear the government-mandated muzzle, a mask that restricted her breath, literally depriving her lungs of oxygen and depriving her of individual rights to free expression. The effectiveness of masks has been a hotly debated issue. Doctors and scientists don't all agree on the benefits, and we've received conflicting messages from the top experts, like Dr. Fauci.
Right now, people should not be walking. There's no reason to be walking around with a mask. When you're in the middle of an outbreak, wearing a mask might make people feel a little bit better, and it might even block a droplet, but it's not providing the perfect protection that people think that it is. And often, there are unintended consequences. People keep fiddling with the mask and they keep touching their face.
Alicia Kitts refused to wear a mask, but she did have a mask. In her back pocket, ironically, was a mask with the image of the American flag. Now let's juxtapose the symbol of the mask with the symbol of the flag of the United States of America. Our flag is the ultimate symbol of freedom of the individual. The United States of America is the first and only nation ever to put the rights of the individual first and foremost. Under our Constitution, we the people believe that all people are endowed by our Creator with unalienable rights. We revere our flag because these rights did not come from the government, but from the sacrifices of freedom-loving people before us. And these rights must continue to be fought for and protected by us. Because when we take freedom for granted, we lose it. This video of Alicia Kitts being tased and arrested should shock you. Not only because one woman's rights to freedom of expression were violated, but because we are surrendering our freedoms without a fight, and often without even a thought. Alicia Kitts is one of the people who decided to take a stand. As she was being dragged away in handcuffs, she called out to the people in her community, who watched there in silence. She asked them, what happened to sticking together? But apparently, no one stuck with her. It's very hard to stick together when the government rules are designed to keep us apart. The states mandate that we must stay at least 6 feet apart and wear a mask. States have forbidden our rights to free assembly to pray to God in church. States have restricted the celebration of important moments like weddings or birthdays and graduations. Some governors even ordered stay-at-home orders for all non-essential citizens. Small businesses owned by we the people are mandated to remain closed, while big corporate-owned stores remained opened. The lockdown rules have caused so many American small businesses to fail. The life's work and dreams of hardworking people have been washed away in a matter of months. And the few small business owners that resisted and defied the government rules are punished with heavy fines and even jail. To make matters worse, we often see that the rules and restrictions that apply to the people often don't apply to the senators, governors, and mayors who make the rules.
But a photo that surfaced on social media showing the mayor after getting a trim has some asking, what about me? The mayor was asked at least twice about the haircut this afternoon.
I'm out in the public eye, and I'm a person who I take my personal hygiene very seriously. As I said, I felt like I needed to have a haircut. I'm not able to do that myself, and so
Speaker
I got a
Pelosi
haircut.
claims she was set up, in her words, by a hair salon in San Francisco. It's a response to this video of Pelosi getting her hair done on Monday with no mask on. The city's pandemic orders do not allow hair salons to open indoors.
I don't care what your political opinion is at one point. I don't care what your religious opinion is. Mask wearing is a law. I'm religiously opposed to masks. I'm ideologically opposed to masks. I'm opposed to masks because they're a bad fashion statement. I don't care. It's a law.
But how many people's lives have we seen ruined by all the rules that we are told to follow for the greater good? The isolation of the lockdown has drastically increased depression and anxiety, alcohol and drug abuse. Divorce rates are way up, and suicide and murder are both significantly on the rise. And still we comply. And the more we comply, the stronger the power of the state grows. Could you imagine a year ago that state governments in this nation could forcibly quarantine perfectly healthy people and force small businesses to close? You might ask, how did this happen? What happened is the government preyed on our fears. The greatest weapon in the hands of the state is the state of emergency. In a state of emergency, people are much more willing to be controlled. The problem is, once we surrender any of our liberties, it's impossible to get them back without a fight. We went from we need to slow the curve to draconian rules in many states that, at this point, are now costing more lives than they might even be saving. And the curve has slowed significantly. So why do these rules and restrictions still continue? Schools remain closed due to a virus that all CDC data suggest does not impact children. The death rate for people under 20 years old is 0.0. And according to the CDC, 94% of people who died with COVID-19 had underlying health conditions like diabetes or heart disease or cancer. That means only 6% of deaths were solely from COVID. So out of 200,000 deaths from COVID in the United States, that translates to 12,000 deaths where COVID was the sole cause. To put that in perspective, each year about 3.8 million people die in this country. 650,000 from heart disease, 600,000 from cancer, 170,000 from accidents. So a healthy person is 12 times more likely to die from an accident than from COVID. We don't have any stay-at-home orders to prevent accidents. So why all these rules and restrictions that affect people's lives and destroy their livelihoods? Those of us who lost loved ones during the lockdown were not even allowed to gather and mourn at funerals. These rules always apply to us, but the state can and will decide when the rules don't apply. Funerals that government leaders find important are approved.
There are those in power who are doing their darndest to discourage people from voting by closing polling locations and targeting minorities and students with restrictive ID laws and attacking our voting rights with surgical precision.
The same unfair rules apply to protests. Social justice protests are encouraged and permitted, while protests for civil liberties are discouraged and forbidden.
Let's show Donald Trump what he does not understand. Let's paint it right in front of his building.
George Floyd, lovingly known as Big Floyd, at the Gentle John.
And in this strange new time, criminals are being sanctified, while police officers are being vilified. Left-leaning politicians are calling to defund the police.
I will never stop saying, not only do we need to disinvest in police, but we need to completely dismantle the Minneapolis Police Department.
They're not going to stop, and everyone beware, because they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And that should be, everyone should take note of that on both levels, that they're not going to let up, and they should not. And
Vice presidential candidate Kamala Harris took her support for rioters to another level by brazenly promoting a fund that bailed out violent rioters, including a twice-convicted rapist, all while law-abiding citizens are arrested for daring to defend themselves or their property. Yet, we continue to stay silent as we give more and more control of our lives to the government, a government that we the people employ. Today's Democrat Party is unrecognizable from the party of FDR and JFK. The Democrats are now a party that are being led by those that seek to destroy all that they cannot control. But they will never destroy the American spirit. Today's Democrats would like to remove God and replace it with more government. They've removed the Judeo-Christian values from their own party and replaced them with nihilism. The result is a new breed of Democrat. And if you love this nation, you must know that we are in a fight. Alicia Kitts is just one American who stood up for her rights. But sadly, no other parents at that game stood up with her. She was left to fight all alone. A fight that no individual could ever win against the power of the state. Only we the people together can win this fight. I'd like to leave you with some final thoughts. Our founding fathers knew how precious freedom was, and history has shown us that freedom is never free. It must continuously be fought for, and it has been. From the Revolutionary War that won freedom for this new nation, to the Civil War to end slavery, to the wars against fascism and communism, our freedom has always come with a cost. Freedom has been a gift to this generation, but it must be protected for the next one.
Don't be shocked.
As power-hungry governors and mayors continue to violate our rights and try to control more and more aspects of our lives, we the people have a very important choice to make. Will we choose tyranny, or will we choose liberty? Will we forfeit the precious gifts of freedom to governments that we employ? Or will we stand together as one nation under God and demand that we the people will always be free?